dudes and dudettes? How are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to The Mixer, the segment on this channel where I give you guys all sorts of detailed analyses from all walks of life. I'll talk about people, places, animals, food, sports, traveling, the whole 9 yards. Hence why it's called The Mixer, because I like to mix things up in this huge playlist here with over 200 videos at this point. That's a lot of mixer, man. I'm really feeling the burn after all of that mixing. My God, I'm all mixed up lately. And today I'm going to be covering a very personal topic which I still hold near and dear to my heart still to this day, even though it's been many years since I've even felt the attachment that I once had to it. You guys might not notice because I've literally ever only talked about it once here on this channel, and I'm going to be remaking that video today with better information, different kind of recording and editing, just I wanted to redo it because I just felt the need to, been feeling pretty nostalgic lately. And a very long time ago throughout my youth, I was actually a practitioner of martial arts and several different ones, like I took one particular martial art for 8 years in Coral Springs, which was called Bahk, right? Now, this is one of the most ancient forms of martial arts from Korea, and it was actually represented by the Muduk Kwan organization. Muduk Kwan stands for School of Martial Virtue. That pronunciation always comes out weird, and it was actually founded by Grandmaster Hwang Hee, who was one of the most important and prominent figures in Korean martial arts. I say was because he is unfortunately no longer with us, He founded this art in martial art in 1945, and since then it went on to become one of the most prominent, martial arts, not just in Korea and Asia, but across the world, And I was very fortunate in my youth to be a part of the organization in Coral Springs, which was called USK Karate. I believe the moniker stood for United States Karate. So if I'm correct, then that means that the company was literally called United States Karate, but I don't know, I was just a dumb kid back then, and I took it for many years, and there is a ranking system, in Bahk, which we observed in America. So you start off, as a white belt, and as you get older and train more, you graduate to the orange belt, then you make it to the green belt, and then later the red belt until you get to your midnight blue belt, which you're already a Dan member, a black belt in other karate forms, and later you get your midnight blue with a red stripe, which makes you a grandmaster, There are different ranks, there's Jokyo, which is an assistant instructor, then there's Kyosa, which is like a senior assistant instructor, then there's Sabum, which is the grandmaster, right? Just master, I think. Grandmaster is a title reserved just for Hwang Hee, He has a son, Grandmaster H.C. Hwang, who today is the only grandmaster of the art who I know of, across the world. And, and his father, Grandmaster Hwang Hee, unfortunately passed in 2002. So, it's a very long and rich history, and the fact that it has its roots in ancient Korea, before the whole North and South, debacle, it really represents, what martial arts is, not just as an art itself, but a virtue, because the focus of Bahk is mainly striking, defined as, 60% hard and 40% soft, so almost perfectly balanced. There are an array of kicks as well, and it focuses a lot on forms and kata, for meditation and deep breathing exercises, at least from what I remember when I was a kid doing it. And it's just like many other martial arts, it is mainly used for self-defense. You're not supposed to use it to attack other people, so that's essentially a little bit of the introduction that I wanted to share with you guys here. And before I continue and talk more about my time there, let's take a look at some photos of me in my early days, and behold the cringe. I was such a cute little pipsqueak. I was so young and innocent, unaware of what was to come, and very, very blissfully ignorant of the fact that much to learn I still had. It's a very bad Yoda impression, in case you couldn't tell. My God, I butchered that completely. So the thing with Bahk is that it's very notable for having, its use of very strong and deep stances, solidly rooted to the ground, to keep your balance. And it actually comes from roots of Shotokan karate, a lot of influence from that as well. And it has a very, very strong emphasis on hip movements, so you can put more power behind your movements. A lot of the hip was used in many of the techniques, and a lot of them also utilize, circular particular forms and motions like in Shotokan Kata, you know, because it also draws what did I just say? Inspirance? It also draws influence and inspiration. Maybe I confused both of them and put them together from Chinese martial arts as well. And when I was starting out, I learned a lot of this, you know, because when you're young, you would learn a lot of the basics and how to warm up, you know, and do basic forms and techniques, you know, punches and kicks. When I was a kid, I thought it was fun, you know, I just did it to jump around and stuff, you know, learn how to, you know, just do cool stuff. But I made friends there very quickly, and as I climbed through the ranks, I started to learn more and more about it and become a bit more disciplined. It did help me a little bit throughout school because I would learn discipline and, you know, like, how can I say, good manners through there and learn to respect my teachers in class, you know, even though I did act out a lot as a kid. But as I got older, it started to keep me grounded, you know, give me a bit more of a mature edge, let's say, you know, a bit more of a more respectable personality, I could say, even though I did relapse it a few times, you know. So it didn't take me too long to go through the ranks, you know, get to the orange and green belts and stuff, you know, but there are certain tests that you have to do, you know, before you are promoted. There is a graduation, but you have to, for example, do a little bit of a basic form or break a board with a punch or a kick, you know. Those were always a lot of fun for me. My parents were there taping everything, you know. I still have the tapes today, but they're VHS, so even though I know where they are, I don't know how to play them, you know. Don't think you can find VHS players anymore unless it's like in a museum or something, but it's really cool. I do still have the photos, you know, and the belts even, you know. I think my mom stockpiles them somewhere at her place, so, you know, it's very, very nostalgic, and it gave me something to do outside of school as well, kind of like an after-school activity, you know, just to also keep myself active, you know, and do some exercise. I was a very hyper kid. I did have this hyperactivity disorder. I took medication for it when I was young, you know, according to my parents, but doing karate kind of helped me get through that, you know, to keep me calmer while I was there. And as the years went on, I started to learn more and more, you know, because naturally you learn more advanced stuff, you know, more advanced, you know, strikes and kicks and spins and different moves. So I used to think it was the coolest thing in the world. I was in love with it. I started to watch karate movies as well, and it just kept growing more and more on me, you know. It made me feel like I really found something that I enjoyed, you know. And as I kept, you know, advancing through the ranks, I started to take it more and more seriously, you know, to the point where I even branched out into other kinds of martial arts, you know, to expand my passion. But we'll get to that in a bit. Now let's take a look at some more photos here of me in my younger days at the Subakdo Academy. And it just gets worse, huh? Because I got uglier and uglier as I got older. At one point I was using braces, you know, my whole mouth was a mess, man, my God. But still, the passion for combat was still there, you know. One thing I forgot to mention is that the ranks often had stripes to emphasize that you were a higher rank within that same rank. You know, we did use a system of, you know, seniority. So for example, somebody who was at it for longer than you and had, for example, let's say a green belt, you know, had a blue stripe or 2 blue stripes on the belt, they were automatically the other green belt senior, you know. But there was also a rank number, a GUP number, you know. When you become a black belt or a Dan member, you also get your own Dan number, your ID. So that is your ranking, you know. So whoever, I believe it was either whoever had a higher rank was, you know, the senior, or maybe it was lower. I actually don't remember now, if I'm being completely honest. But if I'm not mistaken, you know, the green belt system had 1 blue stripe and 2 blue stripes, you know, to emphasize that you were passing on through the rank. Then you would get your red belt, and I think that one made the leap directly to 2 blue stripes, which at that point you were already preparing for your Dan test to become a midnight blue belt, right? And it felt like everything up until that point was really quick until I got to my red belt, because that's where I spent the most amount of my time there, you know, at USK Karate, because it takes a long time to become a midnight blue belt. And, you know, when I find there were a few tests here and there, you know, and they got more and more complex, you know. Remember, the ranks are white belt, orange belt, green belt, red belt, and then you do the test for the midnight blue belt. I still remember the test. I think it was in Ocala in Florida, and it was long. It was a few hours. I was really nervous, you know. There were a lot of grueling tests that we had to do, and I still remember some of my classmates who trained with me. Can I call them classmates? Dojo mates? Studio? I don't get it. maybe dojo mates, right? And you know, everybody passed that I can remember, and it took a while, but when I finally got to that rank, when I finally became a midnight blue belt and a Dan member, it was up until that point the proudest achievement in my life, right? It felt good to finally branch out and expand and learn new things, you know, and really start to feel like a karate badass. At this point, I was very in love with it, you know. It was all I thought about, you know. Bruce Lee was my new national hero. I wanted to become him. So I started to embrace other forms of martial arts as well, you know. So Bahk Do started to become a little bit too predictable and, let's say, even a little dull, because I'm like, okay, I'm finally a midnight blue belt, you know, I got a badass instructor who's gonna teach me some badass stuff. But it didn't happen, you know. I felt like we were going to Dan class and we were just doing the same things over and over again. So I started to expand. I started doing capoeira, and at one point I flirted a little bit with extreme martial arts, you know, which is an art that was founded, I think, in 2005 by Matt. What was the guy's name? Matt? I don't remember. But you know, basically it was kind of like a mixture of martial arts, taekwondo, gymnastics. I fell in love with that really quickly too. And for a brief period I was self-taught in Jeet Kune Do, which it seems cliche, but I learned a lot from watching Bruce Lee movies and documentaries and footage of him, you know, on YouTube, which we already had at the time, but it was very rudimentary. You know, I read a little bit of the Tao of Jeet Kune Do and just tried to embody it and, you know, kind of learn it, emulate a little bit of what I was trying to learn into my own creative art. The problem is that when you're doing 3 to 4 different martial arts at the same time, streams are gonna cross, right? You're bound to mix things up at some point, you know. I had the Bahk Do for more grounded, deep stances, and I wanted capoeira to get a little bit looser, you know, and like just kind of, you know, be a little bit more energetic and jump higher and stuff, you know. A little bit of the Jeet Kune Do for discipline and more groundedness, and I wanted to do extreme martial arts just to improve the flexibility. But at one point in Bahk Do, one of the instructors noticed that my form, you know, my mobility was starting to be affected, you know, because remember, this is a very, very hard, you know, a 60% of Bahk Do is hardness, you know, so you're supposed to be grounded and rooted, you know, and have really strong movements, but I was all over the place and floppy, you know. One of the instructors picked up on that and complained, and, you know, it led to, I was a teenager, so my dad made the decision forcibly to cancel capoeira and focus on Bahk Do, you know, because I was there for, at that point, 8 years or so. So to him it made sense, but I was heartbroken that I couldn't pursue the other arts that I really enjoyed. So unfortunately, the decision, you know, that coupled with my erratic, rebellious lifestyle in school, you know, because I no longer had the discipline that Bahk Do taught me. I was a rebellious teenager, you know, falling into the wrong crowd of gangs and, you know, drugs and stuff, you know, and this was around the time that my ghetto phase was at its peak, which I talked about in this video here, my cringy gangster past. Go and watch that one later after this one, because it's going to be a really nice tie-in here, you know. And I made the decision to just leave Bahk Do, the USK Academy, and never come back. And it sucked because at that point I had actually made it to the E-Dan rank, which was a midnight blue belt with 2 blue stripes, right? So I was a 2nd degree black belt when I stopped, man. You know, I could have become an instructor in a few years after that if I applied myself, and I just let it all go. You know, still haunts me to this day over 15 years later. But let's take a look, on that somber note, let's take a look at a few more photos here, huh, of me now in my later years there at Bahk Do. Looking back on it now, nearly 15 years later, I mean, at the time, it seemed like such a good idea. I was a dumb kid, you know, who was acting out and just wanted to do new stuff, and I just got bored of the whole martial arts craze, you know. I just didn't feel towards it what I used to feel, you know. Didn't really feel like I was learning what I wanted to learn, wasn't moving forward or finding success, so I just quit altogether. And, well, my life was never the same. Because if I had stayed doing it, you know, I would have continued to learn even more discipline. I could have become an instructor, eventually a higher rank of Dan or even a master, and that would have definitely kept me more grounded throughout my life, you know, as the years went by. And all this time, I feel its effects today. Like I still, because when you learn any form of karate, at least in the case of Bahk Do, you learn a lot of discipline as well, because you're taught to respect your instructors and your seniors and be, you know, like a, let's say, just have good manners, you know, and treat people with the utmost sincerity. And because if you, for example, if you talk back to one of your instructors, there are consequences, you know. You're gonna do push-ups, you know, or more push-ups, or, you know, you're going to, I don't know, I don't remember. It was very rare for me to be punished, but I did do a few push-ups here and there. It gets worse, you know. You can won't be able to come to class for a while, or maybe you'll even have to, you'll be demoted a rank. I've seen a lot of things happen, you know. So it's crazy, you know, but it's all about teaching kids from a young age that they need to be disciplined, you know. And there were some key concepts as well, you know, like, you know, having humility and owning up to your mistakes, and also always finishing what you start, you know. A lot of life lessons that I still try to apply today, you know, even in the workplace. And it's really crazy because, you know, even though I don't practice it anymore, I am still a Dan member. I am still a second degree Dan to this day. The certificate, you know, it's still, there's a system in place, you know, where you will always be a Dan member no matter if you stop practicing martial arts or not. But I don't know, my life has slipped, you know, in recent years, and I've been thinking recently about what all of that discipline meant to me. And over the years, I have sort of looked up some of my old peers from back then, you know, whether it's friends who I've trained with or even some instructors, you know. I haven't added anybody, you know, recently, but I do look them up on Facebook, Instagram, you know. For many years as a teenager onward until I quit, I had one instructor. I'm not going to say his name because I don't have his permission. I don't want to get sued, but, you know, he really taught me a lot of the core values that I still have today. And, you know, I see him, you know, on social media. He's still around. He's still an instructor. Now he's a full-fledged master. He's the owner of multiple studios, you know, and he does renovation work with his wife, who was also my instructor, by the way. His wife's brother was my very first instructor when I started doing karate there. You see how it all comes full circle, you know. And it's crazy. The guy has 2 kids now, you know. He's a very, you know, important, you know, public figure in Florida, right? He seems to be a law-abiding citizen. So, and I actually came across a podcast recently that he participated in, you know, called Confident Kids Podcast, right? So, and he talked a lot about his philosophy as a martial artist and a businessman, you know, and disciplinary, you know, methods to achieve success. And it just, like, it inspired me so much, you know, and I really want to watch it again, you know. I've been going through a rough patch in my life recently, you know, with my personal life and work, and I saw that podcast this week and it completely changed my mindset, you know, just wanted to make me be a better man. So even after all these years of not doing karate, you know, I still feel the effects of it, you know. I'm still a big fan of martial arts movies, you know. I like the art itself, you know. I have never flirted with the idea of coming back. I think I'm way too old for that now. I'm not as flexible as I used to be, but still, it's there, man. It's a registry of my life, you know, and it's great. And it feels good to see people from back then still at it, you know, still pursuing it. There was a buddy of mine who I played video games with, you know, who today is one of the managers of one of the schools, and I'm like, man, that kid came far, you know. I'm happy for him, but at the same time, sometimes in the back of my mind, I think, well, maybe that could have been me, you know, maybe somewhere in an alternate universe where I didn't mess up and quit, you know. I've just stayed with it and kept growing and expanding, and one day joined the business. But still, it's a very, very good registry of my past. You know, I really love my time there. You know, looking back on it now, it was very good. It was fun. I still have very fond memories. I remember things so vividly and clearly, you know, even back when I was a kid. So I guess it's because I don't live in America anymore. My memories from there are so much stronger because of this, you know, that homie instinct. And there are 2 schools now. I believe it's called USK Karate East and also West, you know, so there are 2 schools in the Coral Springs area, and it's great, you know. Now, before I leave, let me see if I can maybe sprinkle in a few more photos here if there are any. I actually wonder if there was anything there to put in, because I mean, I have so many, because I do have a lot of photos, but some of them like aren't, some of them are vertical, so I had to go in Photoshop and maybe put some of them next to each other, I don't know. But yeah, man, that's how it is. I still occasionally look up the studio that I trained at, you know, in Coral Springs. I looked them up on Facebook and Instagram, and it's great to see the evolution. Everything is so different now, you know. It doesn't even look like the same place, even though it is. You know, it's so trippy, man. It's insane, you know. Technology, you know, used to advance a lot of things, you know, the evolution revolution. You know, everything looks new and high tech. The uniforms used to be all white, now there's some black ones too. I think they're all black actually. You know, it just looks so much more badass. Reminds me of Cobra Kai. You know, watching Cobra Kai has kind of revamped my interest in karate. You know, I was considering some time ago trying to do a video of me, you know, attempting to pull off the old moves, see if I still got it, if I'm still that flexible, but I'm an old man. I'm 30. That might not seem old, but considering the fact that I was 15 when I quit karate, 15 or 14, and haven't tried anything in the past 15 or 16 years, I don't know if it's gonna be good. But maybe for your guys' entertainment, you know, I might try to pull that off sometime. But anyway, I don't know what else I can say, you know, the people who I see, you know, like I haven't followed any of them on social media because I don't think anybody even remembers me, you know, like if I'm there in the area one day and I happen to run into one of my old instructors, you know, I don't think he'll even know who I am. Like we're talking about a guy who has instructed, you know, like thousands, maybe tens of thousands of kids throughout his career. He's not going to remember someone like me, you know, but it would be an interesting moment, you know, especially after watching the podcast, which I will leave a link to in the description. In the description of this video, I'm going to leave a link to the podcast and also to the USK Karate website, you know, in case you guys are curious, you want to go check it out. If you happen to be in the Florida area, you want to sign up for a few lessons and stuff, you know, they do training camps for kids, you know, it's really cool. Very nice, you know. And yeah, I guess that's it, guys. I really don't know what else I can say, and I gotta get going because my battery's running low. Been recording for a while now. I really hope you guys enjoyed taking this trip down memory lane with me. It certainly was fun for me. A little tense on the heartstrings, but you know, just to make content for you guys, I just wanted to pour out a little bit of my feelings here. But anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think about it. I know if you've ever done karate or any kind of other activity, you know, it's martial arts is a very healthy activity. I wrote an essay about it once, you know, before my DOM test, you know, you have to write an essay about what martial arts means to you, you know. It was corrected a little bit by my instructor. I said some stuff that I was wrong, but still, I remember it, you know. This is kind of like a video essay for me as well. It was fun to make. Anyway, if you guys happen to enjoy this video, please go ahead and give it a like and also subscribe to my channel because I release videos every single day, or at least I'm trying to. And also make sure to hit the notification bell too, so you can know exactly what time I upload, and it's all good. USK, just plugging them here, and they didn't pay me a single cent to do it. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the outro screen. Hiya!